This episode is sponsored by the book, Did I Tell You I Love You Today? By Rory Graham, an exciting story that poses the question, if you could go back 40 years in your life with today's knowledge, what would you change and who could you save? Order yours today on Amazon, Audible, and other fine booksellers, or get an autographed copy at www.rorygraham.com.
Welcome to this episode of Success Tracks, and in this episode I have the pleasure of bringing to you a person that I've known for many years. Her name is Kera O'Bryon, and you may not know the name, but you've probably seen her. She's been in TV shows, she's been in movies, she's a singer, she's an actress, voiceover artist and on-camera talent, and company spokesperson, including for my company for a few years, and just a really good person. And so I asked her if she would come on and share with us her success journey and some of the tips that have made her successful in a very cutthroat business. The entertainment business is pretty rough. So with that, I give you Kera O'Bryon. Hey, Kera, how you doing?
Hey, Rory. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm going to let you start with wherever you want to start, and
that's a pretty tall order.
Yeah, it is, because it's a career that is explored a lot of areas, and some people are just an actress, or they're just a singer, or they're just this or just that, and you just seem to do everything and do it so well. And so, anyway, and you haven't turned into a snob. And maybe that's even better. Maybe that's part of your success. I don't know. But anyway, I'm not going to put words in your mouth. You just start anywhere you want to, and let us know how you got to where you are today. Okay, why don't you start from the beginning of when did you first get the show business bug?
Well, show business. That's a funny word. I'd say I first began performing when I was 3 years old. And I used to do concerts with my mom and dad and my 3 older brothers. And so I would be up on stage at various places. And it's ironic how much I'm in the voiceover business now, and how much I use the microphone now, because when I would sing, the quieter I got, the louder my dad would turn the microphone up, and then I get even quieter, and then he'd turn it up more, and I get even quieter. So, and it's funny, I've just come to rely on microphones my entire life, really. And so I think I did a play in the 3rd grade, and I was really bad. I think The Great Adventures of Hans Christian Andersen. And I still remember a couple lines from that, and I was not good. And so my dad was in radio. He was a radio announcer, one of the traditional type of radio announcers, who spoke very clearly and eloquently in Baltimore. And so I would come home from school, from kindergarten, 1st grade, and we'd hear my dad on the radio, and I always thought that was cool. But it was just sort of part of our lives, so it was really not a big deal. And I never really thought about pursuing that. But I always thought it was funny, like the AT&T operator, on payphones, and so the operator voice would come across and say, "Please deposit 25 cents for the first 4 minutes," or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then the U.S. Airways, when they were still in business, I remember being so tickled by the on-hold voice, and it was just like this saccharine-y, "Thank you for calling U.S. Air. We appreciate your business and recognize that U.S. Air begins with you." I just thought that was the funniest thing. But I would, imitate those things, and it was just something that I did for fun. And I had no aspirations to be an actor. I thought actors were kind of ridiculous. But I didn't know any and I didn't understand them. I just wanted to be a singer. And so, I did my first musical in 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th, 10th, 12th. And I would always have an opportunity to be cast because I could sing first and foremost, and the acting was just sort of part of it. And that was always sort of the first round. If you could get past the singing round, then you had a shot at it. So I just kind of learned by learning by instinct and watching others, and just sort of applying it as I went. And so I'd say probably the summer after my 8th grade year into 9th grade, I learned a fabulous version of the Star Spangled Banner, which was originally performed by a singer by the name of Sandy Patty at the rededication of the Statue of Liberty in 1985. And the arranger that did this version is known for multiple modulations. And I think this particular arrangement ended on a high D flat or E flat or something like that. And I would listen to this particular singer in my room for hours, and I would just try to copy her. And I think just because I was young and spent hours and hours practicing, that when the opportunity arose, I went for it. And so from a few opportunities from that, I was invited to represent our county in a statewide competition to perform the national anthem for opening day of the Baltimore Orioles in 1990. And it was pretty daunting because the previous year it had been performed by Joan Jett. And so I thought that was really neat. And from that stemmed more opportunities from some booking agents around the country. I have no idea how they found me, but started performing around the country doing patriotic music, and opened for conferences, international conventions in Chicago and Reno and Las Vegas, Los Angeles, St. Louis, just all kinds of neat places. And so it was really exciting, and I got to meet a lot of really interesting people. And so that was all in high school. And but voiceover was always kind of there, waiting for me. I remember I did a production of South Pacific in 1993, and the stage manager was a fairly new producer at a local television station, and she came up to me one day and said, "Hey, you know that goofy voice that you're always doing?" I said, which one? Which one?" And so she said, "I've got this public service announcement for bike helmet safety. I could really use you. Can you come by the station tomorrow?" I was like, "Sure, why not?" And so I went and got on the microphone and put the headphones on and read the spot, and then she played it back, and I was like, that's me? I didn't know. It was a surprise. And she said, yeah, we could really use your services. So I just kept doing more of that. I thought, this is fun. This is pretty easy. And so I started pursuing it and pounding the pavement and knocking on doors and going to other radio stations and other places. And here I'm, this kid, and they're like, where did this child come from? So I think I was just kind of a new face and in the right place at the right time. So that tenacity is really kind of what got me going. But my first commercial was when I was 19. And it was this same producer, and she said, we're doing a spot for elder care, and you'd be a daughter putting your father in a facility. And I'm thinking, I'm way too young for this part, but okay, why not, And so I did it, and I just had so much fun. And I was like, wow, that was really easy. I want to do that again. And so next thing I know, I found out I was acting, and it kind of snuck up on me.
Yeah. We used to do a lot of character voices too.
Yeah.
which I know you have a huge range. I could not believe some of those voices coming out of you was you, you know. And of course, when I found you, you were doing voiceovers, and you were recommended by another voiceover guy that we used a lot, Charlie Glaze, and he
Yes.
recommended that I
Yes, Charlie has had a huge impact on my career. I remember in 1997, I was touring Virginia Beach for the first time, and I stopped by this recording studio, and they were giving me a tour, and we went back into the back studio, and there was someone in the booth that I didn't know. I just heard a voice, and I was like, oh my goodness, he was reading something about the Revolutionary War or Civil War or something like that. And I was like, who is that? That sounds amazing. That's a real person? And they're like, yeah, he's right in there. Like, who is that? So
yeah, he was really talented too, but he
his name is Charlie Glaze, and I was like, that surprises me not at all. I mean, with a voice like that, of course your last name is Glaze.
yeah, he's a great guy too, and he
He
recommended.
became my mentor.
Yeah, he really took to you a lot. He really thought a lot of you and your talent, and he said, "Man, I tell you, she's really going to go places. She's so talented."
He was very instrumental. He was very instrumental in helping to guide me through, technology upgrades and updates, and just kind of giving me ideas of avenues in the industry to pursue. And we're always kind of bouncing things off of each other. And yeah, he's been a good friend.
I know here in the last few years you've done some plays. I know that you were at the Sandler Center with the name escapes me at the moment.
Virginia Musical Theater.
Yeah, Virginia Musical Theater. That's right. Okay, and so you've done some work with them, and that was singing and acting. So it does both. But you've also been in some music, some television movies, some TV
Yes.
movies, and I know that you've done commercials that everybody would know if you mentioned the name of the people, the name of the sponsors. But anyway, so with all of this career, now that sounds great and everything, but I know that there had to be times where you were wondering where the next job was or what the next thing was you were going to do. And like you said, tenacity to keep going after it and not just quit. How did you keep going?
Well, I remember, I believe it was probably 1997, and it's interesting how I remember years by either where I was living or what show I was doing or what challenges came my way. And I remember at 97, my brother, who lived in the same town I did, was starting a new job in California. And so my whole family connection in Virginia just was going away. And I thought, I need to figure out next steps. And so, I just took to the road. And, I wasn't afraid, though. I probably took a lot more risks than I should have from a safety standpoint of like just burning up miles up and down the Jersey Turnpike, going up to New York City and recording up there and looking for opportunities up there. But it was just something I was so focused on, and I didn't want to let anything distract me. It is so easy to become distracted. I mean, especially now. It's even harder now to stay on task. And it was tough, but I got myself into that mindset, and I was like, nothing is going to stand in my way. I'm not going to be distracted by relationships or anything like that. Everything is about networking, about business. And I found myself just knocking on doors, pounding the pavement. I mean, literally showing up at production companies and ad agencies. But then again, the industry was different back then. You could do that. You could dial a phone number and get straight to the person, and it wasn't weird for you to actually call someone, and since then, business has changed. They got receptionists, and they got people teleworking, and this is a big leap of time, but then most people text now first or email first. Nobody calls. Like, that's weird. If somebody calls, then it must be an emergency or something like that, or a solicitor, and you don't want to talk to them. And that's from the client standpoint. And so it's even harder now to do networking. But back then, I was just in survival mode. And I was driving, if not in New York, Virginia Beach, Richmond, Charlottesville, Roanoke, Raleigh, Baltimore, D.C., but mostly in Virginia, and trips to New York. And I met a producer through an acquaintance in New York, and he did a lot of jingle work. He did he worked on I Want to Give the World a Coke, stuff like that. A lot of famous household brand names and things like that. And I hounded him for probably a year before he would bring me into the studio. And once he did, we started working together pretty frequently, and I'd fly up and back or drive up and back, and we worked on some pretty cool projects together. And through that connection, I got to meet the women of the Vietnam Women's Memorial and the Women's Memorial, and perform their theme song for their 10th, 15th, 20th, 25th, and 30th anniversary of the Vietnam Women's Memorial. And that just opened up a wonderful new avenue of opportunity and wonderful people that I got to meet and learn about more of our American history. And so that was one particular avenue, but it was tough. I constantly on the phone, I'd show up at a place and say, hey, can I talk to the producer or decision maker? But when you're that young, it's not weird. And of course, like I said, things were different back then. Mm-hmm. You could do that. And I'd have my VHS tape, and I'm like, yes, okay, this was a long time ago. I have my VHS tape. My first voiceover demo was on a cassette, Rory.
Yeah. I believe
I still have it. It's not good either.
No, it's not good. Yeah, I just recently, I had a client bring in the first play our company ever recorded, and it was Hello, Dolly. And I looked at that and I just cringed at the quality of what it was, at the time. But so I know what you're talking about. After 18 years,
well, as long as you feel like you've improved since then.
Oh yeah. No, that's right. Let me ask you this: with all of these meetings you've had with all these different people, and the tenacity to continue pushing, and I understand you're going for a goal. You've got that in mind, and you've got a target that you're trying to hit. You bound to have been rejected. You didn't get every order, every place you went. They didn't say yes. So how did you handle no's? Because a lot of people, according to statistics, they get a no. That's the last time they talk to those people. And sometimes they just stop calling or stop talking or selling because they just can't handle rejection. So what is your advice for handling rejection? Because it sounded like you did a really good job of handling it.
Well, I'd say, and this is, I'm not the first person to say this, but if you can't handle rejection, you're in the wrong business. And the thing that's challenging about being a musical artist or an actor is you have to have a thick skin but still maintain that vulnerability that the camera needs to see or on stage. Because I've always maintained, if I ever got to a point where I felt jaded, it's just time to hang it up. Because when you're on camera, the camera sees everything, and it's in the eyes. The camera sees it. You can't hide that. And as far as rejection, a lot of times when you do an audition, if you don't get chosen, they don't usually let you know. It's just silence. You know, when they say, don't call us, we'll call you. I don't know if anyone actually said that to me, but that's kind of a cliche joke. But usually you audition, and a lot of times when you think, oh man, I nailed it, you didn't. But most of the time, you never got that feedback. However, if there were times when I was actually on the phone or meeting with people and soliciting, you can, I mean, especially when you do voiceover work, you can pick up on nuances in their voice. You can get a sense that, or maybe you're just completely clueless. I mean, sometimes I just chose to ignore what I was hearing and just sort of play it off, but ignore their pushback. That's what I mean. And, you know, or just remain hopeful and say, okay, yeah, thank you so much. And never get nasty about it. You know, I think it's such a small industry, and wherever we live, it's such a, and I like to liken advertising and production and acting and the whole community is like an amoeba, you know. So you've got this group of people, and maybe somebody breaks off and goes over here and starts a company, and somebody over here goes over there and starts a company. So then, like, different people from different organizations will leave and go over here and go over here. So the whole point of that is, you know, don't burn any bridges, because you just never know, you know, what might come around again. And someone's, oh yeah, I remember such and such or whatever. You don't want to be the subject of one of those conversations. How do you handle rejection? Oh, you just have to dig in and redirect. I mean, as soon as you have that loss, you can't hang on to it, because it's like getting your foot stuck in the mud or in quicksand. It'll just pull you down so quickly. And it's easy to get down. There's one particular casting director. I don't know where it went south or if it ever was good, but you know, you could, I think Dita Von Teese said something, I'm paraphrasing, you could be the juiciest, ripest, most beautiful peach, but not everybody likes peaches.
Oh, that's a good line. So you didn't take any of this personally, or you're not to.
It's impossible not to.
I meant it didn't stop you. You didn't get
no. I mean, you have to. I mean, when you're a freelancer, I mean, you're your own boss.
Right.
My boss is a combination of very bossy and lazy. So, no, I'm kidding. But yeah, you are the one that's most interested in your own career. And if someone else is more interested in your career than you are, then you're in the wrong business. You're in the wrong career. You need to pivot and do something else.
So sounds like personal responsibility is a big part of it too, then.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And there's so many nuanced things that go into being a performer, being a voice actor, being an on-camera actor. You know, just basic things like staying healthy, taking care of yourself, staying hydrated, drinking enough water, and eating well, working out, staying active, and keeping your mind active. And who you surround yourself with is absolutely crucial.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how many times I've heard that in these interviews. That's one of the things you hear so much is once I started surrounding myself with the right people, then it brought me up, you know, or I was able to stay in the circle that I wanted to be in, and otherwise it was being brought down or whatever. So circle of friends.
There's a saying, Rory, you probably heard it, when the tide comes in, all the boats rise.
Right. Yeah, and so, well, it sounds like, you know, you're having a good time doing what you love doing.
Oh, it's so much fun. It's so much fun, and it's even better when you're surrounded by other people who genuinely are willing to put as much work into it as you are, and are as enthusiastic as you are, and just bringing their A game. I have been in many productions where other individuals, either it's other talent or crew or clients or whatever, they're just there marking time, punching a time clock, collecting a paycheck, and or trying to prove something to someone, if not themselves. I don't know, but it can be a wonderful environment to be in, and it can be very gratifying if you choose to make it that way.
Well, I appreciate your time today and coming in. Those were some great tips, and you had a very successful career so far. I know it's continuing, every time I talk to you, I guess the last time I was talking to you, you were in a play in Fredericksburg, I think, and I know that when I call, sometimes you say, I'm in a voiceover session or whatever, so I get these texts, so it's rare that I get you when you're actually free, so it was
Sorry
nice
about
of
that.
you. That's okay. It was nice of you to take the time today to share your success with us and some tips to help others, which is what this podcast is all about, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, and there are a couple more thoughts that I wanted to share also.
Sure.
And one of the things is, alongside the comment of be careful who you surround yourself with, just keeping your eyes forward. And I know when people are running a race, they're looking over their shoulder sometimes and trying to see how close their opponents are, but that's the quickest way to trip yourself up. And look at the horses in horse races. They put those blinders on them. So, they're only looking forward and, however they're being guided. And, just keep yourself free of toxic environments and people that don't support you. But also, beyond that, you cannot expect other people to always celebrate your journey. You can't expect that.
It's true.
Yeah. You have to be okay with yourself and where you are and the speed that you're going. And that's going to come from inside you.
Very wise. Very wise. So, well, I thank you again for sharing that with us and the rest of your story. And I look forward to seeing you soon.
Sounds great. Thanks again, Rory.
All right. Okay, so that ends this podcast. And if you have a success story to tell and some tips that you think could help others, we'd love to hear from you and see if we can get you booked on a podcast. So you can check it out at successtracks.com. And with that, we're out.